welcome to Storyboard. I'm Shibani Gharat. Earlier this month, we caught up with Tony Bignell, Nike's Chief Innovation Officer, who has been leading a new wave of bold ideas, reshaping the future of sport. From Project Amplify, then Nike's data-driven design engine, to Nike Mind, which brings neuroscience and mindfulness into athletic performance. In our conversation with Tony, he shared how Nike is rethinking its playbook for India, one of the fastest growing sportswear markets, by localizing design, manufacturing and pricing architecture, ensuring India doesn't become the next missed opportunity. We discussed how Nike plans to use innovation as a lever to counter margin pressures, accelerate go-to-market speed and rebuild momentum in China and other global markets, while also crafting the next big product franchise that can drive global consumer excitement. Tony also opened up about the company's internal transformation, how Nike is bridging design, data science and commercialization to move faster from concept to market, and how he personally balances incremental innovation with the risk-taking that defines true disruption. Tony, you recently took reins as the Chief Innovation Officer of Nike. What has been your immediate mandate to start off this conversation, if you can share that with us?
Of course. Well, first of all, I'm excited and honoured to be part of this team. And I keep saying three things to our team members, and it's, can we have more athletes, more collaboration and give more energy? Athletes is what we do. And the more we can talk to athletes, be around athletes, the better we are in our innovations. It helps us to push harder because they're always good to steer us. Collaboration is a big one. As a company, we're a big company, and we need to share these innovations across the whole group.
Yeah, and you know, Nike's recent quarter surprised to the upside on running and wholesale strength. But you know, the management has repeatedly said that it needs new product hit. So what is your plan, you know, for that next big product franchise, if you can share that?
Totally. Well, I think you've seen a few this week. Some of the Aerofit that we're taking, which gives great cooling to the body. You've seen some areas that are pushing some edges and amplify. And some of the mind science is really interesting. I think some of the work that gets you ready for sports.
What metrics, you know, do you go back to really, you know, figure out whether it's working or not?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a million metrics that you can use, but eventually the only metric that really matters is, does it make athletes better? You know, do athletes love it? Do they covet it? Are you trusted, and do you give them something that they feel new and different about? So that's probably our bar, which I know is a fluffy financial metric, but we're just trying to show up in the right places and show up with consumers that can help love.
Sure, and there has been a significant leadership shuffle at Nike. Having said that, how are you restructuring the handoff between, let's say, design, data science, and also commercialization to avoid, you know, slow product launches going forward in the coming quarters?
Yeah, one thing actually we've done immediately since coming in is we've got this beautiful building. You've been in it for the last couple of days. We can make things, test things, innovate really, really quickly. And actually, we've been kind of keeping some of this stuff tight even within our campus, because you don't want your innovations to be taking a photo and leave the building. But we're actually opening up this building to all of our creative teams. So I think that's really going to help bring people in, bring people together. And
to create that collaborative atmosphere within the company as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Give that energy.
Yeah, and you know, innovation is something that has been discussed world over, even in big tech companies, where, you know, many experts are saying that, you know, there is sort of an innovation slowdown. You know, we are not seeing anything which is like groundbreaking, which is disruptive. Being at the helm of innovation at Nike, how do you balance, let's say, incremental innovation with disruptive, risk-taking, you know, innovation that like you're probably thinking of putting forth in the market?
For sure. I think you always need like mind share innovation, that big dreamy innovation, and you always need market share innovation because you're trying to drive a business. So it's always going to be a balance. The way I think about it is we listen to the athletes over and over and over again, and what are their biggest problems to solve, whether it be an athlete at the elite level or the everyday level. What are they trying to solve? And just keep doubling down on that, because innovation can be a color, innovation can be an incredible computer chip that helps you run better. I mean, there's a whole slew. I think you just got to make sure you're really hitting on your target consumers and getting super focused.
Sure. Now, speaking from an India market perspective, what, according to you, do you think is, your competitive advantage in a market like India, with the kind of scale that the market provides for a brand like Nike?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people and a lot of athletes, and, lots of athletes, and so if you have a body, you're an athlete, and lots of people that are moving. So we're actually starting some work on cricket, we've been in cricket consistently, but we've got some big plans there, so that's really fun. I know I'm English, so I get cricket, but if you're not authentic in cricket, it's hard to be authentic in the country.
Yeah.
So we're spending a lot of time and effort working there, and then just like paying attention to things that are relevant, whether it be climate, whether it be the surfaces that you're having your sport, whether it be the prices, where the distribution. There's lots of areas I think to hit, but again, always coming back to athletes, sport, running, football, basketball, training. That this is something that this shift, it seems small internally, but it's really helping us focus.
Yeah, and cricket is also coming to US, which is your home turf for Nike. We will see it during Olympics in 2028, and also we saw how phenomenally the American team performed around the T20 World Cup last year. So what are you doing right in this market to gain that significant share when it comes to the cricketing audience in this country?
Yeah, I can't speak for the marketing share, but I know us within innovation, if we walk downstairs, you'd see a whole plethora of ideas and concepts that help you bowl better, help you, stand in the field longer, make you cooler as you're working out. A very Nike-only point of view to cricket. And cricket, as we know, is very traditional and very bold and brash, and it's both. I think you've got to make sure you're respectful, but also pushing.
Sure. Another interesting thing which is happening in 2026 is the FIFA Football World Cup on this continent.
Yes.
We know that, your rival has had a stronghold when it comes to football, which is, of course, Adidas. So what are you doing right in that direction, to make your presence felt while America has a football World Cup to host?
For sure. Well,
in terms of innovations, are there new products coming in? Is there new tech which is being launched?
Yeah, we have an amazing new technology AeroFit for all of the kits that we're using. We know, especially in the American cities, most of them are incredibly hot. We know the players are asked to perform at the highest level. So how can you take away the distractions of being hot and sweaty, but also just allow them to play better? So we've got this AeroFit technology that goes across. We've got some amazing technologies coming in the boots to help with speed and fast and passing the ball better. But also making sure that through the tournament, because it's kind of intense, that you can move throughout those moments quickly, whether you're recovering better, getting ready for the next game. So that kind of pre-match and then post, we're obsessing every minute of the athlete lifestyle.
Yeah, globally, Nike's, so to speak, turnaround story is gaining traction, especially in a market like US. But what are some of the things that you are doing in markets such as, China, which is still in the lag? So any specific product or consumer innovation that we will see in some of these markets that will help you create that turnaround story worldwide?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming, and I can't talk all about it, but in China, for example, street basketball is incredibly popular. It's an incredibly important sport. Running or jogging, walking is incredibly important. So we're spending a lot of time. We actually have an innovation lab in Shanghai, so similar to the one we have in this building. And we're constantly working to find out what are the similarities, what are the differences, what are the regional things that we need to be better on, and what are the global insights that we can help push across to make everybody better. So it's kind of the same formula. Start with science, include the design and the iconography, but make sure you're not a big corporate necessarily entity, that
Yeah.
you can act small and dream big in the locations that you're playing in.
Now, continuing our deep dive into Nike's innovation engine, we next sat down with Phil McCartney, Executive Vice President, Chief Innovation, Design and Product Officer, the creative force shaping how sports, science and style intersect at Nike. If Tony Bignell spoke about redefining the science of sport, Phil brings it to life through design, where motion data, materials engineering and cultural insight meet. In our conversation, Phil unpacked how athlete performance metrics like motion capture and force data directly influence Nike's design pipeline, and how innovations born in running labs are being reimagined for sports like cricket and basketball. Listen in.
When you develop such new materials or tech for one sport, what's your process on adapting and scaling it to some of the other sports that you're betting big on?
Yeah, and so what we do is we typically find those edges. So elite athletes are incredibly discerning. They think in millimeters and milliseconds. So solving those problems forces us to think differently about how we engineer, how we design, how we use science. And then all of the while we're thinking about what that means to everyday athletes. So a good example would be aerodynamics. So aerodynamics is something that we use with faith, but then has application to millions of people all over the world every single day. Breaking two, our attempt with Eliud Kipchoge, we use new materials and we use Zoom Air, and we've managed to take those innovations and begin to put them in everyday running shoes for millions of people. So we push edges, and then we think about how those edges apply to everyday athletes.
Yeah, while I was here, I also saw Nike speaking about sustainability in a big way, and one of your product ranges is in the coming days is going to be a highly sustainable, clothing material for athletes. So when you are, coming up with a product or an innovation like this, how do you balance your environmental goals? And also at the same time ensure that the performance goals of an athlete remain uncompromised.
So the first thing we always have to do is solve problems for athletes. So that's first and foremost. The case that you're referencing is AeroFit, which is a new material technology that allows us to keep the athletes 240% cooler. It just so happens that trying to solve that problem led us to a brand new material which is far more sustainable than any other material we've used. So that's a perfect marriage of solving an athlete problem and thinking about sustainability. When we think about sustainability, we always think to do sport, you need clean air and clean water. So we have to use our size as an advantage and think innovatively in terms of our material science to solve that problem as well as the athlete problem. So AeroFit is a great example. It'll launch in the World Cup next year, and then we'll quickly think about the application of that to runners, people who are training, basketball, because everyone needs to stay cool.
Yeah, that's your cross sport, taking the cross sport innovation to other sports.
Yeah.
But when I spoke to Tony while I was here, he spoke about how India and cricket is something that Nike is excited about. So what is it when it comes to some of the cricketing-led innovations that you're getting to the country? Is it the cricket spikes? Is it like gloves? Are you getting any of these, working on any of those innovations in the coming days?
Yeah, I have to tell you, when we said we're going to do cricket, there was a high level of excitement. So we're really excited about cricket. We're really excited about bringing innovative solutions to the sport of cricket. We're going to start with our core competencies. So we're going to start with footwear. We're going to think about apparel. So that's where we're going to start. Like, how do we make sure that we're solving problems for cricketers through our footwear and apparel? And we just got started on that work. It's really exciting. We have a lot of people here who grew up in India, and they're really excited about that product.
Yeah, so sports is gaining traction, considering given the recent performances of some of our track and field athletes in Olympics, also badminton, cricket. India is one of the top teams worldwide. Running is picking up in a big way. So when it comes to your innovation pipeline, how does Nike ensure that India, with its scale, is not a missed opportunity like China was?
Yeah, and it's a good way to think about how we always go back to the athlete. So we spend time with athletes around the world, mining those insights, thinking about how we can solve those problems, thinking about how we can help them reach their true potential. And we do that with athletes all over the world. Cricket is a great example of how we're tapping into something that means a great deal, not just in India, but to other countries around the world, and using those insights to solve real problems.
Yeah, with major events like World Cup coming to the continent of America in 2026, how does Nike ensure that Nike's designs not only perform but also own the moment for an event like this?
So we always say, if you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you play good. So as we're innovating, we're also thinking about how those innovations make athletes feel. Faith talked a lot. Faith Kipyegon during the break and forward attempt talked a lot about she wanted to feel like a superhero.
Yeah.
So we design a product that not only serve the functional need, but that function then drives the form. So that's how we think about World Cup. So we're incredibly excited about our federation kits. So what the athletes will be wearing on the pitch. We're also excited about warm-up jackets and what we can do off the pitch as well. So anytime we have a sporting moment, it's just a huge opportunity for us to bring innovation, design, and creativity to the world.
It is time for a short break. On the other side of this break, we have a very interesting chat with Amway's Global President and CEO, Michael Nelson. You don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Welcome back. Joining me on a morning walk and a run was Michael Nelson, President and Global CEO of Amway, who's currently on his visit to India, one of the company's top 3 priority markets worldwide. During his visit, we caught up with him to discuss Amway's ambitious vision of scaling its India operations to rupees 20,000 crore and the strategic roadmap driving this growth. In our conversation, Michael shares how Amway is balancing investments in local manufacturing with a digital-first direct selling ecosystem and how the company is navigating the shifting dynamics of global supply chains amid trade uncertainties. Of course, we couldn't miss the human side of leadership. Michael has completed over 100 full marathons around the world. We explored how that endurance mindset translates into leading a global organization, knowing when to push through challenges and when to pivot with purpose. Listen in. On this beautiful morning in Delhi, I'm joined in by Michael Nelson, President and Global CEO of Amway. Welcome to CNBC TV 18.
It's a pleasure to be here on a beautiful morning.
Absolutely, and we are both in our running attire.
Yes, we are.
Ready to hit the road. But before that, I must congratulate you on your first visit as the global CEO of Amway to the country.
Thank you.
You've mentioned India is one of your top priority markets in the past for Amway, top 3 priority markets for Amway. You've also mentioned you have a long-term target of scaling it to 20,000 crore. How are you prioritizing some of your investments, in the market, in the country?
We're almost to our 30th anniversary here in India. We've invested over $140 million US dollars in the market. We've got another investment that's upcoming, another $12 million US dollars that we're investing into the market for giving our ABOs additional capabilities, physical presence locations across the country, north, south, west, and east, across India to increase the stores that we have, places for people to gather, and additional technology capabilities as well.
And with global tariff tensions rising, with the backdrop of rising US trade tariffs, how are you mitigating some of your risks of being in a market like India?
Well, one of the ways is through manufacturing here in the market. So we have a large manufacturing facility in Madurai. We've invested over 85 million US dollars into that. Prime Minister Modi has a Make in India. We started that 10 years ago. I'm actually here this week to celebrate 10 years of manufacturing in the market. That helps to mitigate some of those tariff impacts. Of course, it's a global supply chain. We still have some issues that we work through, but manufacturing here in the market for India and exporting out of India helps us immensely.
And while you're here in the country, what are some of the top key trends that you are picking up from the India market, Michael?
Well, India is such a dynamic market. Every time I come to visit, I learn new things. And that is why it's such a priority market for us. It informs us for what we can do, not just in India, but globally as well. You know, as I look at some of the trends just in terms of health and well-being, the Indian, consumer really understanding health needs, technology trends that are happening, and just the advancements, we incorporate that into what we do globally.
Yeah, and the rising trend of, taking care of yourself and health also, I think relates well with what Amway's focus is in the market as well, because you have brands in this space. But India also has a very rich history of Ayurveda and all the natural products and home remedies. And that is, where the consumers are also leaning on to right now, as in a big way over the past couple of years since the pandemic. Having said that, how are you picking up some of these insights and bringing some of your products or localizing for a consumer like the Indian consumer?
That's a great question, because we have a lot to learn from the the centuries of history of Ayurveda, and that's a product line that we continue to expand, not just here in India, but there's interest outside of India for those solutions as well. Our Nutrilite brand has 90 years of scientific history. It actually works very well with some of the the Ayurveda history, and we continue to expand that category.
And what would you say would be your hero product today in the country?
I would say it's our nutrition line called Nutrilite.
Yeah, that's the hero product.
Yes.
You've completed more than 100 marathons
Yes.
so far. So how does, your fitness journey and marathoning impact the way in which you take your business decisions
Well, that's a great question.
at the helm of a company like Amway?
That's a great, and I know you're a runner as well, but often I think people focus on, the finish line and the pictures of people with the medal around their neck. But as you well know, it's the discipline day to day that you have to have. You don't go out and just run a marathon. You have to have that discipline of training. And that's really what I think is analogous to running a business. It's the day-to-day decisions, the day-to-day tracking of the data and the information to know that you're ready for the future.
And the consistency of
That's right.
the plan. Having said that, running also teaches you humility. Sometimes you train given your all for the 16 weeks as a run up to the
Yes.
race, but on the race day, something happens, your body doesn't feel it, the weather is not right.
Right.
It's the unexpected that comes your way. So what has running taught you about dealing with that unexpected, especially considering we live in such volatile times when it comes to geopolitical situations,
Yes.
macroeconomic factors? So what has running taught you to deal with some of these unexpected things?
Well, I think running, what it does teach me is that you have to always be able to adapt. And so if you're running a race and you're tracking some of the data and you're seeing that today's my day, and you can really push and you can push forward. In some cases, maybe it's weather, it's the conditions, as you say, within the market, some of the macroeconomic geopolitical issues, you have to adapt to that as well. And you may need to adjust a bit the course that you're on.
You gave the example of push and holding back.
Yes.
And, off late, any other situation that has happened, if you can explain to us or elucidate with example on, where you applied this principle of either pushing through hard when you felt good or holding back during making that decision.
Well, I mean, there have been some breakthroughs that we've seen where we were able to accelerate. I mentioned artificial intelligence. We're actually using that in our research and development now to take plant material, analyze that, and through AI really understand how you can take that plant material and make it as effective for the supplements that we provide. And so as we do that, it really has accelerated our whole development process. And that's where we began to push. And we can see that finish line to deliver that to our customers across India.
Yeah, as you know, since you mentioned this is your first visit to the country as the global CEO of
Yes.
Amway, what is your vision for the market going forward? And at large, what is your vision for Amway for the next probably 3 to 4 or 5 years, so
Yes.
to speak?
So I see there's really 4 key differentiators for Amway that's true globally, and I think it's true in India as well. One is just the values of the company. That's something that's a legacy for us that we carry forward. The others are really positioned for the future. The best of the past, but the great products that we have for health and well-being.
Sure.
Giving people business ownership opportunity. People want to own their own business, and I think that's something that we can do, and that gives them personal development as well. And then bringing people together in community. Today I think there's an epidemic of loneliness out there. We bring people together, and I think that positions us well for the future. So health and well-being is growing. We're ready to grow with it.
With that, it's a wrap on Storyboard this week. You can catch all of our content on Facebook, X, and YouTube. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time next week. See you soon.